Welcome to another episode of Lawyer Up and to the Right. I'm here with my co-host Cesar Cobo. How are we doing today?
Doing great. This is a good one I'm excited for.
Yeah, so what we're going to talk about today is pay-per-click, specifically in Google, specifically for law firms. I have talked to, over the last month alone, probably about 50 law firms. And a theme that I hear and see a lot in those conversations is, one, the fact that you poor law firms have been burned by so many agencies. But number two is that you spent a lot of money on pay-per-click ads and you haven't gotten the results from them. And in this video, I'm going to talk about why, and I'm going to show you the math behind why we can get these ads to work, and really why these ads don't work for a lot of law firms. So we've actually developed an analysis internally. If you're interested, there's a link below, click it. I'll run this analysis for you. It's exactly what I'm going to show you in this call. So let's jump over to my computer real quick. Cesar. So what we're looking at here is Google Keyword Planner. And I want to run you through a hypothetical from an accident, a PI attorney in Georgia. So this actually came through as analysis. They came to us, they said, Ryan, we spent about $20,000 last month on Google pay-per-click ads. We got about 2 phone calls. They were tire kickers, and our money was gone. We can't get it back. And now we don't want to run ads anymore. We just want to focus on organic search. Now, the challenge with that is personal injury law is arguably the most competitive space on the internet, both organically and paid. And when we're talking about organic, if you don't have the authority and equity with Google, you're not going to rank organically, and you're going to spend probably just as much trying to get your website in that position. Whereas with Google Ads, you can get those leads, those phone calls, those clicks within a couple of weeks. Yes, you're paying a higher upfront cost for it. It's supply and demand. The more people that are bidding on those keywords, and a lot of people are, the higher and the more expensive that click is going to be. But that's what I want to focus on. I want to focus on is if you've only got $10,000 to spend per month on pay-per-click ads, how can you drive the most results for it? So the first step here, Cesar, is we're going to go into Google Keyword Planner and we're going to click on this button here. You have to have an account. If you don't, again, we can run this for you. And you're just going to go in and type in the keywords that you want. So again, this is a Georgia personal injury law firm. They do auto accidents, slip and fall, dog bites, kind of the standard run-of-the-mill practice areas for personal injury laws. And what we want to do is just basically take those keywords and then segment them by location. And one of the things that we can do here, a little kind of hack, is we'll say wealthiest areas in Georgia, right? And we'll take these counties, these cities, and we'll cross just again. So like, for example, Alpharetta, Decatur, Peachtree City, accident, lawyer, dog bite, slip and fall, etc. So we want to build this kind of very high level, very basic list of keywords that we then copy and paste in the Google Keyword Planner. And after we do that, what it does is it spits out this spreadsheet. So what we see here now is a list of the keywords, the average monthly search volume, the competition according to Google, and then also the cost per click associated with that keyword. Now, this is important because this cost per click is as American as it gets. It's supply and demand. The more people that are bidding on these keywords, aka other law firms, right? The more valuable that this keyword is to their firm, the more people are bidding on it, the higher that cost is going to be. So we see some of these bids, $300, very expensive. That's every time somebody clicks on your ads, you're paying $300. And this is where things can get rampantly out of control for law firms if you're not closely managing this. And this is what a lot of agencies do. They take these very basic, high level, we call them broad match keywords, and they just throw the budget at them. And they're just working on very basic process here. Find the keywords, bid on it, whatever the cost per click is, we'll take the conversion rate. Now, if you don't take the time to do the math, you will continue to be in the situation where you're burning out money. And that simple strategy, which believe it or not, most agencies deploy, it only works for the biggest law firms in the world who don't have a problem spending $20, $50, $100, $200,000 a month on pay-per-click keywords, because they're basically just trying to outbid the competition. They're basically just saying, we got this cash, we're willing to spend $250,000 a month on this because we know if we get one of the right cases, it's going to pay it back easily. Now, that's the 1 to 5% of law firms out there that can do that. For the rest of you out there that pay close attention to this podcast and watch these videos, I'm going to teach you how to do this properly. So this essentially, Cesar, what this does, it pulls through all the data over here and it does some calculations based on what we're also looking at. So over here, we'll start here on this chart. You see the keyword, you see the searches per month, clicks, low bid, high bid, average bid costs. So what we do here in this clicks column is we apply what we call a click-through rate. So a click-through rate means let's say 100 people search per month for auto accident near me. Just because you have an ad there doesn't mean everyone's going to click on it, right? So we apply a click-through rate, meaning how many people are going to actually, what percentage of people that see that ad are actually going to click on it. So you see up here, we apply this 4% click-through rate. And if I change this, if I bump this up to 10, you can see how the clicks changes and the cost changes, right? So we like to use an average of 4%. We're usually a little bit higher, but we usually like to estimate things a little bit lower here just to make it make sense. And we always like to estimate the worst case scenario because we know that we'll outperform the worst case scenario every single time. So at a 4% click-through rate, we're saying for all these keywords, this is how many clicks that we're getting. We're then taking those number of clicks and then timesing it by the average bid, which is just the low bid, the high bid, obviously average together. And you get the monthly cost to bid on that keyword or to go after that keyword per month. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So the next thing that we do is now we start to calculate all this stuff up here so we can start to do the math on the profitability of these ads, because honestly, it's not good for every firm out there. If you can't spend, you have to find what that kind of critical mass point is for what you need to spend in order to get the return on it. And what a lot of law firms will do is twofold, right? Like I said, they'll either just throw a bunch of money at it and mismanage it, and I'll show you how to manage it more properly to get the most out of it, or they'll throw like a little bit at it, $2,000, $3,000 a month. And when you look at the cost for some of these clicks, if it's $300 a month, you're going to be getting 10, 20 clicks. It's just not enough of a sample size. You're just going to get buried by the competition out there. So this is a very impactful analysis that allows us to do the math of forecasting of what we can expect to return and how much we realistically have to spend in order to hit that critical mass point and be profitable on this. So when we take all this in here, right, the total monthly search volume for all these keywords, again, these are all the accident in Atlanta, Alpharetta, Marietta, etc., right? All the keywords that we want potentially to bid on at a very high level, right? And this is a sales analysis. When we actually work with clients, we'll do a lot more granular research here, mapping out funnels, intents, etc. But this is just to understand the potential profitability on a case. So total monthly search volume is about 24,000 per month. So we answer that right away. Yes, there is a market for search for, any sort of PI law firm in Georgia. We already know that, right? Then we assign the click-through rate and we get the total number of monthly clicks per month that we'll be getting to our website or to our landing pages. So you can see here how just because there's all this search volume here, depending on the ad click-through rate, which is determined by your bidding strategies, which is determined by the copy in terms of what you use in the ads, right? And again, a lot of agencies will just be very lazy here and not manage this. And the worse your click-through rate is, the less clicks that you get, which means the less opportunities that you actually have to get phone calls and leads. So we'll call it about 1,000 total monthly clicks. And this is where most law firms start shaking in their boots, and understandably so, because just for about 1,000 clicks per month, we're talking about almost $130,000 per month in cost per clicks in ad spend to Google. That doesn't include any agency fees. That's just anytime somebody clicks, that money's going straight to Google off your credit card. So you can see how if you don't do this analysis ahead of time, if you're just like, yeah, we have $5,000 to spend, the agency's like, great, we'll take it, and they don't do any research ahead of time, just this number alone should give you some sort of pause. If you've invested in paid search in the past and didn't do this math ahead of time, it's going to be one of the reasons why you've probably struggled. So ad conversion rate. So now we're saying, okay, somebody goes to Google, they type in auto accident attorney near me, they click on the ad. Now we're talking about from everyone that clicks, right? How many of those people that click actually become a lead? They either submit a form or they call the number on the landing page. Ours is around 15% on average across our clients. So again, 1.5 out of 10 people, 15 people out of 100 that come to our landing page actually convert into leads. That's a pretty good conversion rate. Sometimes we'll get upwards of 20 to 40% depending on how hot we are in that market. But again, we like to underestimate. So we're basically saying that you're going to get about 144 conversions off 130K in spend off of these keywords down here, a total cost per conversion around $900. Okay. So now where we're at is we're saying we can start to estimate now over here. So you have a $10,000 per month budget. We're saying that that's about 7.5% of this number here, right? So now we're taking 7.5 and we're applying it by these monthly conversions here to get 11 monthly conversions. Does that make sense? So in other words, same costs here, right? About $900 for $10,000, you're getting about 11 monthly conversions. So what you need to do as a law firm, you need to say, okay, if I get 11 conversions per month, what's my sales conversion rate? Of every phone call, of every lead that we get, how many of those actually turn into customers and clients? And what's the value of that client worth to my law firm, right? Some of these, you might say it depends. It could be 1 million, it could be 1,000, whatever that is. Take the lowest amount and just kind of project that forward. So if you're closing half of these, you're getting 5 new clients a month off that. If you're closing realistically a quarter of these, right, you're getting 2 to 3 new clients per month. Can you afford to pay? Are you covering that monthly spend of $10,000? Also keep in mind the lifetime value of these clients, the referral value of these clients. These are things that you want to factor in too. But this is the math that you need to do. And now you start to understand too, that if you start to up your budget, you get more opportunities. Now you have 22 leads. If you have 22 leads per month, are you going to pay back the 20? So you can start to see how we get to this point of critical mass and understanding what you should be spending to make it back. Because again, if you're only going to spend $5,000 here, you're only going to get 6 opportunities. These are a mixed bag, right? If you're closing 1, maybe 2 of those, you'll probably never make your money back, or you'll just be replacing at the very best. So this is why, you know, a lot of law firms get frustrated with agencies, and they're like, when we as agencies tell you, you have to spend money here, it's not because you're paying us, it's because if you want to outpace the competition, you have to spend money in order to make the money here. This is why. Now, here's something else we can do, Cesar, that makes this number a lot more palatable, because like I said, what most agencies are doing, they're taking this broad list of keywords, they're jamming it into Google, and they're saying, Google, you figure it out. You bid on the right keywords, you optimize this using your AI. And this is where costs get out of control, because you see how much people are searching. So if 24,000 people are searching for this per month, I'm not great at math, but that's around like 800 per day in terms of searches. That's a lot of people on a daily basis that are searching for this. And you can see how if everyone's banging out these clicks, your cost is going to go up through the roof. Within a couple of days, you can spend thousands and thousands of dollars. So this is where partnering with the right firm, first of all, who understands how to do this type of math, who's thinking about your best interest, who's not just trying to take your money, who's actually thinking about getting you leads and clients, because that's what we do here. We are a lead generation firm, and we care about making you money. You find a firm that cares about making you money, you get more granular with your research, your targeting, and the actual application of these keywords. So if I have these filtered here for the highest bid. So if I go down here.
But before you go into that table, I think it would be good to clarify these numbers that we're seeing here, the 4% click-through rate, the 15% ad conversion, are these numbers that you can expect out of the gate, or are these numbers that you have to ramp up to get to? Because there is a trial and error period. So the bigger your budget is, the more you can go through that period and get these numbers to ultimately where they're going to drive this many conversions.
Yeah, that's a great question. So before I get down here and show you how to reduce these costs, this does take, so like with any marketing, you know, like you're going to need a 30 to 60 day ramp up period. And it's no different with paid search. This is not a light switch that you turn on. We really ask our clients for a 30 to 60 day period where we're testing keywords, because this starts to get very, very complicated. I think of that. I don't know if you've seen like the Hangover meme where he's like doing all the math in his head. It starts to get like that when you start to think about all these different combinations and landing pages and phone numbers and different offers. There's so many different combinations that you can make here to optimize these numbers, to your point. So click-through rate, Cesar, is going to be widely just the copy that you use in the text. So what copy means is the text that you place in the ad. So if you search for auto accident attorneys near me, what we're talking about here is this text here. This text here is widely what's going to drive click-throughs, right? So there's different things that we can do here, right? I like this, no fees or costs until you win. Why is that important? Because people see that and they're like, okay, that's what I want. So let me drive in here. So this is the type of stuff that you can do to increase the click-through rate here. That's something that we test over time. We write about 50 different headlines, and we let Google kind of spin it through and optimize, assigning it to different clicks. And then we A/B test it, and we understand what are the ones that drive this number up the highest. Because again, the more opportunities we get here, the more at-bats we have, the more chance we can hit a home run. So
I think it's also important to note when it comes to optimizing that it's different in every market. So you can't just take the same set of keywords that work in one market to another. You know, one thing that comes to mind when we were talking about affluential cities is you may not necessarily need that no cost, or like you may not necessarily need to tie the ad to a low cost offer if you're working in more affluent areas versus areas of lower income, that sort of thing. So maybe a bad example there as an analogy, but the point is that you can't just use the same keywords over and over in the same market. There is a level of testing no matter where you're at.
No, that's a great point. That's a really good point, Cesar. Thank you. Also for note up here too, this is a different type of placement. This is what's called a local service ad, an LSA. It's not run through the same thing that we're talking about here with traditional pay-per-click. These are only going to show when it's a localized search, which honestly most of your searches are, and LSAs are a great placement too. Got another video that we'll do on those in the future. But to Cesar's point, after we go through and we're optimizing for the click-through rate here, the next thing that we want to optimize for is the conversion rate. And this is really the kicker, because click-through rate, it's basically just increasing costs if you think about it, because we're getting more clicks. But this is where we can actually reduce costs, right? We can increase conversion rates, but it's optimizing these landing pages. I do not like this landing page at all for a lot of reasons. It's just text, it's very impersonal, stock images. So these are the types of things that, again, that our firm focuses on, our agency focuses on, is going through and split testing different parts of these pages. So, one of those things is imagery. Another thing is the offer down here. So if we're saying that this is the offer, a free case evaluation, is that the most enticing thing that we can do to get somebody to convert? This is a huge part of driving up the landing page conversion rate. Also the context on the page, social proof. I'll probably put some reviews and stuff on here. Rubenstein Law is a huge law firm, so I think they know what they're doing. But either way, point is, right, Cesar, your point is that this is a number that we want to manipulate here heavily, because if we can get this, watch the numbers here now, if we can get from 15 to 20%, look at the cost per lead. Look at what happens to the cost per conversion. So glad you brought that up, Cesar, before I got into this other part, because if you're not working with an agency who is testing, who is thinking through these, who's having conversations with you about what makes your law firm unique, right? What is it specifically that you do that other people don't? Do you have a very special offer? Have you won specific types of cases? What is it that we can use as marketing material to help you stand out? So you can start to see too, we get this up to 30%, and my God, $500 per lead, I'll take that every day. But the reality is that most law firms are down here probably converting at like 8 to 10%. So we go up to 10%, look at that. And now look at what happens to your opportunities over here too. If you got a $10,000 a month budget, you can see now you have 7 opportunities, right? The math doesn't make sense. The math doesn't math, as they say. So again, we like to use a 15% average, but our goal is usually to get our law firm clients up to around 20%. Now I'm gonna move this back down to 15%, Cesar, and go use the numbers that we started with, and show you another thing that you can do. And sometimes this is a little bit less favorable, because again, this is just basic supply and demand. These keywords here cost more because they're more valuable to law firms, right? These have a proven value to the business in terms of the client that it brings in, that law firms are willing to pay more for it. So if you are on a tighter budget, let me just watch these numbers up here, what happens when I remove some of these keywords. So if I remove these down now to here, you can see what happened. If we just stop bidding on those keywords, if we stop targeting those keywords and we focus more on some of the keywords that have a cheaper bid, then you can see here for $10,000, we went from 11 to 17. So just in that, 6 more leads per month ups your chances of hitting more clients and paying back these bills up here. So the point I'm trying to make with all this, Cesar, is in something that, I talk about a lot when I'm pitching our clients and working with our clients, is there are no silver bullets anymore when it comes to marketing and advertising. The dust is settled on the internet and it's brutally competitive, right? Like you can go to TikTok, you can try YouTube, you can do all these different things. I encourage that. But when we're talking about straight client and customer acquisition, search is still best. And the way that you win in these situations where it's brutally competitive is you have to be better. So working with an agency who is not asking you the detailed questions, who's not going through and doing this testing, who is not actively pushing more ideas to you, asking you about different types of copy, different types of offers. Hey, can we push this? Can we say this? Can we use these cases on your landing pages? If they're not doing that, then that's the reason why you're not winning, because this is not something about, again, having the most cutting edge tactic and the latest information. It's really not that complicated, but it is a lot of work. And that's why most law firms don't get a return on their capital when it comes to paid search, because these agencies are just not doing the math for you up front, and you're not pushing them to do that. So do you have anything to add to that, Cesar?
No, I think that truly is something that sets us apart, is that we're constantly refining, we're constantly testing, we're on weekly calls sometimes with clients. If you're working with an agency that it's like set it and forget it and you never hear from them, and maybe you get a report from them at the end of the month, be very skeptical, be very wary of those type of agencies, because a good marketing campaign, you're constantly getting feedback, you're requesting feedback. How are the leads going, specifically on specific leads? That's qualitative information that you're just not going to get from looking at a report. So yeah, absolutely. I would just leave it at that. Is if you don't have that constant interaction with whoever is managing your ads, then be very careful.
Absolutely. And again, like I said, if you want us to run this analysis for you, hit the link below, set up a time to talk. I'm happy to do this for you and show you exactly why your ads are not working. And in fact, I guarantee that we can beat the current performance of your ads. So if you're interested in that, hit the link below. Let's talk soon. If not, we'll see you next week.
Till next time.